Two new rulings from the state Supreme Court have racial justice advocates worried. Last year, for the first time, the court overturned a conviction because of racial bias during jury selection. It was a case from right here in Wake County, but just days ago, the court denied similar appeals in two other cases. WRAL state government reporter Will Doran has been covering this issue. He joins us now. Will, is the court backtracking on issues of racism in the justice system?
So there's a big debate over whether there is any racism in the justice system. Democrats will tell you it's a real problem, but Republicans say no, justice is blind. And with these recent rulings, that's exactly how the votes have come down. We've seen the Democratic justices say prosecutors should stop keeping black people off of juries, but the Republican justices are sticking up for prosecutors.
It's interesting. Usually when you hear about systemic racism in the justice system, we're talking about it from the conviction side, but the other side a little different. So why is this only a debate now? Hasn't this issue come up before?
Yeah, so it's been almost 40 years now since the U.S. Supreme Court first allowed convictions to be overturned because of racial bias in the jury selection process. But North Carolina has more or less just ignored that until last year. And that's been under judges of both political parties that we've done that.
And so what change was there in North Carolina that's led to all of this?
Well, it dates at least in part back to the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020. At the time, the Supreme Court Chief Justice was Sherry Beasley, a black woman. And during those protests, she shocked a lot of people, frankly, by giving a speech that publicly acknowledged systemic racism in the courts. And it was really only after that that we saw this first of its kind ruling, for example, on bias in juries. But at the same time, that also led to Republicans spending millions of dollars on ads that painted Democratic judges as being soft on crime. And that really resonated with voters. The GOP swept the judicial elections in both 2020 and 2022, putting them in power of the courts here.
And that's where we are right now. And so I question, what's exactly next?
Well, these are not the only cases along these lines. There's still more waiting in the wings. And so while some advocates are indeed concerned that the court has reversed itself here, there are more chances for us to see how the court is going to rule on more cases and see if this is part of a trend or not. So those are going to be coming up later this year, and we'll just have to wait and see what the court says.
No, you won't just be waiting. You'll be watching carefully to see what happens. All right, thanks, Will. For more details on the cases and the history of these challenges in the state, you can visit the NC Capitol section of WRAL.com.